Joining us for a conversation is Peter Ball, the president of Noram Lithium. Mr. Ball, welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning, Maurice. Glad to talk to you again.
It's a pleasure to be speaking with you, as Noram Lithium has just announced a binding letter of intent worth 14 million USD, as Noram Lithium continues on its pursuit as a force in the green energy revolution. Mr. Ball, for someone new to the story, please introduce us to Noram Lithium and the unique opportunity the company presents to shareholders.
Yeah, thanks, Maurice. Actually, it is a unique opportunity. Well, we're at what I like to categorize, we're tightly held, very tightly structured, soon to be very well financed. And what we are, we're an advanced lithium exploration and development company focused in one of the best places for mining in the world, which of course is Nevada. And we have an asset that we recently completed an economic study that shows just incredible metrics or economics, which is going to be great for our shareholders going forward.
Now, before we get into the exciting details of the letter of intent, Mr. Ball, please provide us with a macro supply and demand fundamentals for lithium.
Yeah, lithium, if you start watching the price of what's happened over the last year in the lithium carbonate equivalent, or LCE as we call it, it's just going through the roof. So right now it's approximately $60,000 per ton. And what's happening is there's, the future demand is outpacing the supply that's going to be available going forward. And in 2020, I think we saw 3 million cars that were electric vehicles. And what's going to happen, that represents about 5% of the vehicles out in the current space, and it's actually going to be about 50% as we go forward by 2030. So what we're seeing is let's call it a crunch. So right now the supply that's going to be available, upwards to 2040, 15 years, 16, 17 years from now, is only, I think the supplies are going to be about 3 million tons, where the crunch is happening because we're going to need about 7 or 8 million tons. So big crunch, prices are going through the roof, and any product or commodity to be involved with is lithium, hence Noram Lithium Corporation.
Now let's find out how Noram Lithium fits into the green energy revolution, as the company recently announced a very robust PEA on the flagship Zeus property. Can you walk us through the PEA?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give some rough points on it. So what we did was we put some numbers together to kind of get a better understanding of this lithium clay sedimentary deposit we have in Nevada. So what we did is we looked at a study one of our neighbors did, and then looked at our project, which is really the other half of their deposit. And we used a price of $9,500 per ton. As I mentioned earlier, it's trading at about $60,000. So using $9,500, this project delivered a $1.3 billion NPV after tax, with over a 31% internal rate of return. So what it's going to do over the next 40-year mine life is yield probably over $12 billion worth of revenue. But if we kind of look a little, utilized, what is the long-term forecast? It's not going to be 60,000 tons. It's probably not going to be 9,500. The analysts are forecasting about 13 or 14,000 long-term over the next 10, 15 years. If we use that number, our PEA actually generates approximately $2.7 billion NPV, or a 52% IRR. So very robust. And as the market knows, the market will need 50 to 100 projects like the one we have to barely even supply this crunch that's going to happen in the LCE market going forward.
Now, the PEA numbers are fantastic, but Noram Lithium has some strategic advantages among its peers. Please highlight some comparisons, and in particular, some of the neighbors to the Zeus property.
So what we're seeing in our PEA with some of the metrics that come out of it is our OPEX, or operating cost, is I think it's about $3,300 per ton. And it has a payback period of just over 3 years. So if you look at the OPEX cost curve going forward in, say, 2025, we are on the very far left of the cost curve. And that's always the best place to be when you're looking at yourself and comparing yourself to the peers. Our CapEx is just barely over $500 million, where you're seeing some of these other projects that are trying to be pushed forward will be much closer to $1 billion. So what we did is, of course, you always look to the neighbor. What's happening in and around you in the Clayton Valley in Nevada, and immediately right next door. And I kind of look at their deposit and ours. And if you picture both of our deposits, actually one, it's kind of cut in half because they have one half and we have the other. So we put ourselves side by side. This other company called Cypress Development, great team, moving a great project, and we have basically the same project moving forward. And I think they trade about 4.5 times our valuation. So now with our PEA and what we're going to be doing this year, it's a big re-rate and a de-risk year. We're just going to keep on pushing forward. We're going to be very well financed. So yeah, we stack up extremely well to all of our peers. It's in our presentation on our website, so I won't go into any more of them, but take a look.
Well, we have a number of catalysts and a number of virtues, and lithium, if I'm not mistaken, was recently declared as a critical mineral by the United States. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. It is a critical mineral. So a lot of, the race for this EV revolution has placed a lot of countries, let's say, on guard of guarding the commodities that they have within the United States of America. And the United States only has one operating lithium mine, and that's actually adjacent to our project. I could throw a rock into their property with Albemarle and their Silver Peak project that's been operating, I think, for 60 years. And it's the only project in the U.S. So when the United States sees this race, to develop and explore and find and put forward lithium, it's a guarded mineral. So yeah, it's what you call as a critical mineral in the United States of America. So they guard lithium very tightly, noting this race in the EV revolution.
So we just referenced catalysts, virtues, and now location. And also within that location, not to say that they're a partner with you, but you also have Tesla nearby, correct?
Yeah, they're just up the highway. Again, we're right next to the highway. We have a paved road, right to site power. Again, with Albemarle, they've been operating there for 60 years. So yeah, you head out our project, turn left after about 15 minutes, and you're a couple of hours away from the Gigafactory, just outside of Reno, which has actually become like a little town that's been developed over the last few years. So yeah, it's good to have Tesla just down the street, kind of.
Not bad company. Now, let's get into today's press release, as Noram Lithium has announced a binding letter of intent with Lithium Royalty and Waratah Capital Advisors for $14 million USD. Mr. Ball, please share the details with us.
Yeah, I'll try to go through it quickly because there's some mechanisms that, as an executive of Noram, we always guard our shareholders, number one. So if we're going to attract or bring in an investor, it's got to be strategic. It has to be long-term, and there has to be a reason to want to work together as we go forward with such an investment. So Waratah Capital Advisors is a very respected financial and technical team that advises pension funds, high net worth clients, institutional clients, and attracts their funds and then invests their funds to make a profit for their investors. So they took a look at our asset, they took a look at the metrics, the PEA, where we're located, and we started talking. And I've known a couple of the principals for a number of years with some previous deals. So this, the mechanics of this is we have a $14 million US investment, which is comprised of a 1% royalty and an equity portion for $9 million US. So $5 million for the 1%, $9 million equity. And what this allowed us to do is not have a warrant, long-term warrant on top of the investment, which sometimes puts a cap on the share price as you push forward. But it also, we were able to do it a premium to market. So we were trading in the 70s. My goal was to get in the 80s, and we agreed on 82.5 cents per share. So great for the shareholders, minimizes dilution, and we're really tight going forward. And last thing is we'll basically be fully funded for the next 2.5, 3 years. We won't need to go back to the market, which is no more dilution. But we can get to work faster than we've ever had the opportunity because we were small a year and a half ago.
Now, once this transaction is fully consummated, how will the capital be deployed?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when we were talking with Waratah and Lithium Royalty Corp, and Waratah, again, in that investment has an electrification and decarbonization fund, which is taking a portion of this investment. They wanted to see us go right through to the definitive feasibility study. Like, how much money do we need over the next couple of 3 years to go there? Couple 3 years to get there. So first priority is this company really didn't have much, a large treasury last year. So now we're fully financed. So first off is pushing this year, which we'll have done by the end of the year, a pre-feasibility study, basically taking the PEA and utilizing only the measured and indicated resources, put it into the model, and come out with a PFS, which is another kind of de-risking mechanism. And prior to that, we'll do a little bit of drilling. We have enough resources for 200-year mine life, and but really take some of the inferred, which we have close to 850 million tons of it, take about 175 million of that in 12 holes, convert that inferred, it's really just some infill drilling, convert that into indicated and place it into the study. And then after that, at the same time, we'll be looking at a pilot plant. We'll be looking at additional metallurgical studies. We're looking at baseline studies, really to do what I call as a pre-permitting. In other words, what do we need to do now? We've got the cash to push forward over the next year or two. So we're ahead of ourselves and ahead of the market and taking every step to push this project as fast as we can forward.
Oh, it sounds like a busy year with a lot of news flow. Now, before we leave the Zeus property, what is next on the horizon for Noram Lithium? When can we expect a response, and what will determine success?
Well, like Nexus, I just mentioned, it is really, for the first time in Noram's history, we will have a significant treasury. And some of the things we'll be looking to do is, who can we attract with our strong treasury on the technical side to really beef up and add to our already wonderful team that we have internally. And how fast can we push forward? So like I mentioned, we will have a lot of news flow this year on every part of the project, on every part of the metallurgical studies. And what I didn't mention yet is a lot of the other players in Nevada that have similar clay lithium deposits, or this illite smectite stuff, or basically clay, have done a lot of work and spent millions of dollars that we can kind of utilize for our experience and save ourselves millions of dollars, because they've actually done all the homework for us. But we'll do our studies and just push forward. It's a busy year on drilling, studies, metallurgy, baseline, and really looking after shareholders for that re-rate and that de-risking mechanisms.
Now, just in case I missed it, drilling, when are we expecting to have the drilling commence? Is that Q1 or Q2, sir?
Q1. We'll have the drilling started very soon. We should be having a lot of news coming out fairly shortly exactly about the drilling, what we're doing, what it means, how fast it'll happen. And again, it's just 12 holes and it's just infill. So it should be quick. And really, it's just beefing up the indicated, even though I said we have enough resources for a 40-year mine life and 200 years of resources.
Sounds good. Switching gears, let's look at some numbers. Mr. Ball, please provide us with the capital structure for Noram Lithium.
Yeah, so right now, our capital structure, we have about 74.5 million shares out, which is really good when we compare ourselves. When you look at share structures, how many shares do we have out? How many do our neighbor have out? We have about 74.5 today. Our neighbor was the exact same deposit and pretty much the exact same metrics that we have, has about 147 million plus a bunch of warrants. Again, great company. So after this financing that we just discussed a couple of minutes ago, we'll have about 88 million. So still well under the 100 million share count. We'll have about $20 million in the bank. And we have some warrants that will probably come in to get exercised, which will be the last set of warrants. So we'll have no more warrants above us. Those will get exercised there. Exercisable at 94 cents, I think. Yeah, so that'll give us about 92 million shares out. And that will give us about 23 million total. And then the new investors that came in, they have an option to buy an additional or top up to 19.99%, which I believe they strongly want to and probably will. And that'll bring in another $8-9 million. It's at a great premium, about 82% to this share financing we just are closing right now. And you see a lot of other companies do premiums of only 30%. So this is great for the shareholders, 83% premium. It's a financing that will come in probably, I suspect, this year once we get up to over the dollar range. And so again, at the end of the day, about $23 to $30 million in the bank, well under 100 million shares fully out, cashed up for 3 years.
Oh, I love the business acumen and also just the best vote of confidence. I think you've been pretty active here buying shares yourself. Am I correct?
Yeah, I've been on. I'm new, right? So I only started, a couple of months ago. My goal is to come in and get this financing, secure it with a group that's good for the shareholders. So I was on blackout. So, as soon as we announced the news, I went to the market and I think I bought 100,000 shares on the Monday. I bought another 50,000 shares the next day, and I bought another little bit after that. So I think I put in, a couple $100,000 this week of my own money. I believe in the story. I believe in the project. I believe in what's happening to the sector. It's going to be here a long time. It's the EV revolution, and no better place when right now we're trading at a 4 times discount to our neighbor who has the same project, same metrics, but they have higher shares out. We have a bunch less, and now we're going to have nearly the same amount of cash as them. So yeah, it's no better time to load up personally. I encourage anybody to do their due diligence, and again, phone me. I take every call. It's always a decision when to invest, and I can help people just understand the story and then make their own decision.
Well, the best vote of confidence is when I see management buying, and I have to admit, I've been buying shares myself.
Awesome. I like to hear that, Maurice.
All right, sir. In closing, Mr. Ball, what would you like to say to shareholders?
I just encourage the shareholders to go to our website, take a look at the PowerPoint that's dated in February. It's brand new. It's on the deck. It includes everything about the recent strategic investment we're closing with Waratah. Talks about the project. It has a lot of metrics that we put ourselves apple to apple, or project to project. It's showing numbers how we stack up against our peers. There's actually an analyst report that came out by a banking group in Toronto that kind of put in their words that we're severely discounted to our peers and our market capitalization. So do that, and then again at the end of the website, the very last page is my email and my cell. Give me a call if you have a question. I'll try to answer for you, and if I don't have it, I'll make sure I get it to you within the day. So, but do your due diligence. It's a wonderful story, wonderful commodity, wonderful sector, and it's going to be busy this year for us.
Mr. Ball, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. Wishing you and Noram Lithium the absolute best, sir.
Thanks, Maurice. You have a wonderful day. Take care.
The information presented on Proven and Probable is provided for educational and informational purposes only, without any express or implied warranty of any kind, including warranties of accuracy, completeness, or fitness for any particular purpose. The information is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice, or any other advice. You should not make any financial, investment, or trading decision based on any of the information presented without first undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional broker or competent financial advisor.